All right, guys. So it has been years since I've done a book study. At least I think it's been years. And one of the things that I think we need to get out of the way is let's talk about the purpose of doing a book study. So the purpose is to get a bunch of great minds together and collaborate on ideas. And so what I know about each one of you is if you said yes to this and you read it, I guarantee you're coming to the table with some great ideas. And one of the reasons that we like to pick John Maxwell, raise your hand if you felt like this was a really easy read. Raise your hand. Right? And actually, I don't know if you guys caught, and now I won't remember which chapter it's in, but he's teaching about how to communicate with people. Oh, it must have been on the communication one. And he was like, you should have a really strong open and a really strong close, and those two sections should be close together. Meaning, like, it's really about, it doesn't have to be a lot of words. It can be a short amount of words, but they can be really powerful. And so you may feel tonight like, oh, I don't know if I should share. Is this dumb? The shortest amount of words could be the most powerful. So the purpose is for us to be able to share ideas. Now, here's what I don't want for you. The first book study I did was the 21 Laws of Leadership. And I just had to tell everyone doing this, I was like, I literally don't know what I'm talking about. I don't even feel like I exemplify even a third of these qualities of leadership, but I want to grow. I want to improve, and I don't want to do it alone. And so I'm just going to say that to you tonight. Like, I'm not an expert. Jessica's not an expert. Whoever's running the book study is not an expert. We're just doing this because we want to grow and we want to be better. But why do we want to be better? Is it for ourselves or is it for others? Well, it always feels good to be comfortable in your own skin. But unless that's given as a gift to someone else, what is the purpose? What's the point? So everything that you grow in through this book, I know it's going to end up being a blessing to someone else. So the first thing that I want to do is ask just a couple of you, if you will go ahead and raise your hand and I can call on you. I want to hear from one or two of you. Who is it in your lifetime that you can think of that you have wanted to follow? Like you think, gosh, that's someone that's a leader or someone I've wanted to follow. Can anyone share about that? Raise your hand. Leslie, unmute.
I would say my dad. My dad was president of a major corporation, and he had lots of leadership qualities, and he just really drew people in. A lot of my friends worked for him. He unfortunately would not let me work for him, but I ended up working for him at one point in time. But he had very high standards, but he did tend to micromanage. So I think, I just think he was a very good leader to, in a business sense, to have around all the time.
So it's almost like you could learn from him. Like you could watch and learn. Like he modeled really amazing wisdom and you could learn from that.
Yeah, he was always learning. He would read 5 newspapers a week. So.
Wow. That's a great example. Does somebody else want to share before we get going? All right. Hit me, Patty. Unmute.
I want to say not really a person, but an organization. I worked for Chick-fil-A for a while. And being from the Chicago area, we didn't have Chick-fil-A's growing up, but then in Texas, they were everywhere. And their philosophy closed on Sundays. And in their mission statement, they don't even mention chicken. It's about serving people.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a great organization to follow. And I was very blessed by them.
It's actually great that you brought them up because what they're so good at is recognition, and they make people feel seen. And if you want to see the direct result of that, I want to go to Chick-fil-A because I feel like I'm treated and taken care of in the right way. I want to give them my business because I feel like they value me as a customer. Well, you don't have employees that do that unless they feel valued themselves. And that actually will come all the way back full circle. Many of us feel ill-equipped to be a leader, but I would tell you that makes you the very best leader. Because if you're walking around like, I got this, like they following me, that is not a leader at all. You can see all of these bad examples in history of people that have been followed for a time for pure evil, for wickedness. But people eventually catch on. It doesn't necessarily mean if you look behind you and there's people there that you're on the right track. It's about the longevity of that. So we're going to go through each of the characteristics, Jessica and I. We might have a story, we might have a question, but now I'm going to ask, if I asked you guys to think of which one of these is your strength and which one of these I said is your opportunity for growth, because we're not going to say weakness. We're going to say opportunity for growth. Can I get two people really quick before we keep going? What did you feel like out of the first 6 characteristics? And I'll read them to you really quick. Because I want you to feel like if you get on here and you didn't get a chance to read, I don't want you to feel like you should skip because you didn't get a chance to read. We'll still have a great time. So there's character, charisma, commitment, communication, competence, and courage. Which one of those did someone feel like was their strength? And which one did you feel like was an opportunity for growth? So Tina's putting it in the chat. If you want to put it in the chat, you can do that as well. Does anyone want to unmute and share that? I always feel like I can tell when I'm looking at your faces which one of you is going, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Hey, I have some comments on it.
All right. Tell me.
So when I was reading through this, I was thinking, honestly, all of them you can improve on. But I saw myself in a lot of them, the character, the charisma, the communication. I thought that was very well. But even commitment, I recognize that there's so many areas in my life that I am just really good at that. And then there's other things where I have good intentions, but I have no follow through and I let things fall by the wayside. So that is the one I picked that I really need to work on, is my commitment and my organization actually get something done instead of only letting it be in part of my life.
Yeah. And I bet we could do some coaching on that and find out why it is that you don't want to follow through in those areas. I'm sure there's some.
Well, if you think about it, it's like my dog's barking because she heard somebody else talk. So it's like, my work life and stuff, very committed, top of the line. People look to me. They're paying me a paycheck. Mm-hmm. And then when I go to health, I'm really good, but I got some accountability and doing a challenge and doing different things. But then it's hard to stay committed on my own. So, I recognize where the areas are and what I'm valuing more than I'm valuing myself. And this book really brought that out, reading that.
I love the honesty. Commitment's hard in general. And then I think Ashley was going to share her strength and her opportunity.
Yes. So my strength, I would probably say I would like to say is character. I like to say that I'm true to myself, but I'm sure we can all use improvement in all of these different areas. But for me, I would say that my area of growth would definitely be courage. I have always been on the more insecure side. Even speaking right now to a bunch of people that I don't even know kind of scares the crap out of me. But you got to do it scared, right? So courage for me is definitely an area of growth. And it's something that I'm looking to improve upon for sure. Although every area was somewhere I could see improvement.
I love that you unmuted to talk because of courage.
Yes.
In those areas. That's amazing. Honestly, that's so great. I'm glad you did that.
Thank
you. I don't know if any of you guys have ever read, if you're believers, you've ever read scripture and you get to this part about the fruits of the spirit. And it's like, you're reading through this list of all these qualities, kindness, gentleness, patience. And you're like, every time you're going, oh, ow, ooh, like it just hurts so bad because you're like, I literally can't say to you that any of those qualities I embody in a really wonderful way. So I want to release each one of you from any feelings of I'm not good enough or shame that I just struggle in an area. This is just the journey of life. So welcome to the struggle. And you're showing up in a way that you're trying to be very intentional and becoming more, improving in areas, but you're not going to be perfect and you're going to make mistakes. And that's my favorite part of leadership is you're allowed to make mistakes. You are, and you're allowed to admit them out loud. And you're allowed to tell people that you're trying and you're growing and you want to be better. And that will make you a far better leader than someone that has it all together. Do not try to have it all together. And I appreciate you guys already having conversations, because there's nothing worse than doing a book study and everyone is totally dead silent, just staring at you. And you're like, this is super awkward. I can't do that. Like, I gotta leave if that happens. So there's our warning. So Jessica, do you want to unmute really quick and just share like what you thought about this book before we get going? Like, I know you and I had similar feelings about it.
Yes, thanks, Jen. I am loving this book. I was like, okay, so she's asking me to pay attention and speak about a book that I don't even know if I'm gonna like, because it honestly, when I picked it up, I was like, oh gosh, this looks like it's gonna be dry, but okay, I'm gonna do it. And I personally, guys, when I get on a Zoom, I freeze up. My biggest fear, you can talk to my husband, is talking in front of people, and just like someone had said, like getting on a Zoom and talking with people you don't know, it's scary. So there's that. But I love this book. As soon as I dove into the first chapter, I was like, okay, I really like it. I couldn't put it down. And my husband even had to tell me to put the light off. And I just kept going, and I really liked it. I loved every single thing. I actually took like 4 pages of notes, because I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. And Jen had said that there was like a bunch of like one-liners, and it's so true. I kept writing them down and I loved it. And like every single chapter, I pulled so much, and it made me think of little tidbits of like what's happened or what is currently happening in my business, that I feel like we can share and kind of help everybody and improve ourselves.
So good. So good. And y'all, the best thing, a bit of advice I could give you is, don't read this thinking, ooh, she needs to hear this one, or, oh, my cousin needs to hear this one, or my brother would really benefit. Don't do that. Just make this about you, because when you begin modeling each of these characteristics, you'll actually find that people begin modeling them back to you. Have you ever noticed that when you do it with your kids or with your, I lost my voice a couple years ago, and suddenly none of my kids were fighting. They were like all just talking, and I was like whispering, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I might be part of the problem. Isn't that interesting? So let's get started. Let's talk about character. I wrote a couple of things down, and then I wanted to hear if you guys had any big takeaways. Character is one of those qualities of a leader. It's, to me, it's a make or break. If I question their character, I cannot at all follow that person. And that's actually not the same thing as saying somebody made a mistake. Character is what somebody would do when someone's not looking. And character is, if I heard a scenario and I did not believe that to be true about them, I would know their character so well, I would say, there is no way. I do not believe that. And I wouldn't even need proof. Like, I would just know based upon that person's character, that is not possible. And that's the kind of character that I want to have. And I feel like as I read it, something kept coming to my mind. I was like, I really do enjoy a little healthy dose of gossip every now and then. I do. I like just hearing a little something, something. And I was like, man, that's not something to be excited about, because I want people to feel like I would never say anything about them or have a conversation behind their back. But I've definitely been party to it, and I won't lie. Sometimes I've enjoyed it, and that I need to grow in. So we're going to get into character. One thing I wanted to say is, I wanted to hear anybody's feedback on this quote that he said. He said, talent is a gift. Character is a choice. You cannot rise above the limitations in your character. And it made me think about that law of the lid, because we can always grow. Like, you can't rise above these limitations in your character. But what do you guys think when you read that talent is a gift, but character is a choice? It makes me think about someone being super talented, but maybe not having character that matches that. Did anybody else have a one-liner like that, or did you have feedback about that particular line? Okay, so nobody thought anything about that. Apparently it's God saying to me, Jennifer, stop limiting your character with gossip. And by the way, I totally admitted to that. If you want to admit some part of your character that you're not loving, I'm here for that too. But the best part about this is, when you look at your character and you want to grow in that, he said you can search for cracks, search for patterns, and then begin to rebuild your character. So that gives you so much hope. So if anybody wants to share something about a person that they know that has character, or a place in your character that you want to grow, or a place that you've had your character tested and you still rose above, does anyone have something to share about character?
Hey, Jen. So, when I was reading this, I felt like this consistent theme for a long time. Sorry, I can't turn my camera on right now. But I had this consistent theme in my life of pride lately. And there was a line in the book, and I can't remember now exactly what he said, but he talked about pride, and how that can get in the way of being a leader. And I think that that's something that I personally have been working on, not in the sense of like, sometimes we think of pride as like, oh, look at me, I'm great. But pride is in the sense of like feeling like you have to keep it all together all the time, and not letting people see you mess up or whatever. And people want to follow someone who's real. He talked about that affecting how pride can affect your influence over people. And so that was something with my character that really stood out to me that I want to work on, is not letting pride keep me from being real, in being a leader and in interactions in my life.
So good, Tiffany, because especially as a diamond, you start to feel like, I don't want to admit these certain things that I'm not what I would think I need to be living up to. And so you feel like it becomes like this professional cover up. It's like you don't want anyone to see it, but I love that you're saying that that's just pride, and letting people see the real is way more influential than keeping it covered up. Did anybody else want to share a crack that they felt like they discovered in their character? I didn't expect to go that way, but this is fun. Tabitha.
Well, yeah. So I have actually been going through this book for the last, I think, 2 months with another diamond, and just working on the workbook part of it. And so I've been digging through a lot of things that I've had to like cry out and just get over and pick myself up by the bootstraps and just be like, okay, I'm recognizing the area and that I'm lacking. And instead of staying in a pity party of, oh, woe is me, which is a good habit that I have picked up all my life because of trauma, is just, okay, this is where I'm at and this is what I need to do to change. And there was something that I heard someone that she said today. She was listening to a podcast, my friend, and she was just like, the gal said that self-sabotage is the addiction to your baseline. So that means like you are self-sabotaging yourself by going back to the same thing that is easy. For example, you want to say you want to improve your marriage, but when the kids go to bed, you go back to your easy, which is turning on your favorite TV show and both of you being on your phone, catching up on your own things, as opposed to watching the TV show and laughing about it and interacting in small ways like that. Or, you're just going back to your easy as opposed to changing. And if you see something in your character, like Tiffany said, whether it's pride or whatever it is, whatever's holding you back from actually doing that change, you have to go away from the habits that are keeping you stuck there. Just move forward, admit that it's there, but don't go back to your baseline, or you're never going to improve in leadership or any other relationship really that you have.
We can just get off, because that was really good. Seriously, so good. Because the gossip thing, and we'll move on from here, I'll pass to Jessica. If I hear something that I think is interesting, my immediate response is, I can't wait to tell someone. Like, that's the literal baseline. Like, I want to share that with somebody. But what I know is it violates trust, and it makes it feel like people can't be as open as they'd want to be with me. I know you all think that I'm talking about people 24/7, but even one time is enough. I think that is so powerful, Tabitha. All of you guys, like, bookmark that one, because we don't want to live at our baseline. We're made for more. So our baseline is the place we're trying to run from. Okay. We're trying to elevate our experience. All right, Jessica, I'm going to pass this to you and let you hop on to charisma.
All right, charisma. I liked this one. So it's charisma is the ability to draw people in, which with Plexus, that's what we try to do. And I took some notes and kind of was just like, so first I have to say, whenever I started Plexus, I was with another company, and I was totally against social media. I did not like it. And I honestly was like, no, I'm never going to be on social media. And now if you see me on social media, you'll see me never not on social media. I'm just everywhere. And I love it now because of Plexus. And I have developed just talking with people, loving people through social media. And I absolutely love it, just like the rest of us. So there was one thing I wanted to kind of focus on was with Charisma and like our business, what is it that you guys notice about other people who are successful in the business, whether they're a jewel or not? But what is something that you guys notice that they are constantly doing with their business or on social media that draws you into them? Is there something specific that you guys notice? Emily Roberts, yes, she's one of my favorite ones. Jen said that I love following her on Instagram. She just attracts people for so many different reasons. She's funny. She isn't all Plexus. She does everything. I mean, if you follow her now, she is living in her RV with 3 kids. It's like crazy. And it's just interesting. And that's what I absolutely love. And then, I mean, something else that she's always doing, she's always improving herself. She's always being consistently growing physically, mentally, spiritually, just everything. And I think that's something with Charisma is that you just have to figure out what it is that you want people to pay attention to and what you want to attract. And it is something like he says that it can be developed. And I think that's something that's really important is we grow in our business the entire way. Bob Heilig once said that network marketing is a personal development with a personal development program with a compensation plan attached to it. And it's something that we are constantly doing. We're growing, developing constantly. Is there anything else that you guys notice with like other jewels or people in Plexus that you absolutely love to follow that you notice? I see Tabitha, she said, Jen Leith and Shay Jones are truth bombers. Yes, they give you nuggets of truth in the smallest day-to-day activities. Yes, always learning and teaching at the same time. I absolutely love that. Yes, it is so true. You're always gathering some information. It's always something that you're going to take and just absolutely love and run with it. All right. And I think we can go back to Jen for chapter 3.
Okay, so I can't help but mention this, but let's say you're at a party and someone walks into the room and they are laughing, they touch people on their arm when they walk by, how are you? And you just notice like the room lights up when they walk in. You know what I'm talking about, those people that just have this charisma where you're like, yes, so-and-so's here. You just know they're going to bring the fun. You would not go to put on the same outfit she was wearing and act the same way and try to emulate her accent and like touch the same people and be that person, like copy her word for word in order to somehow have charisma too, right? Like you would not just, I'm going to act just like her and then I'll have charisma. You can't also do the same thing on social media. You can't take someone's post and be like, this will be charisma for me. There's something about you that makes you feel excited. And I always use this quote by John Wesley, and it's really weird, but he's like, I like to light myself on fire so people will come watch me burn. Sounds creepy, but the whole point is when he's super excited about something, people stop and listen. It's just the way it is. And so I encourage you guys, find that thing that makes you feel charismatic because people will follow you for that reason. And it really doesn't have to be about the bacteria in your intestinal tract. It could be like something actually really exciting. Or maybe you love that. I don't know. Okay, so we're on to commitment. And I love that we talked about that earlier.
Can I jump in for 1 second?
Hit me.
Okay. I don't know any of y'all all that well at all, but I love reading some of the stuff you post and Shanna. Yeah. And you guys aren't, you're probably in my upline somewhere. I have no idea. I'm not like diamond or rubies or sapphires or anything, but I'm just a little low person. That's okay. I'm good. But I like and get stuff from you guys. You don't make it overcomplicated. You don't write. I don't know. I like reading your stuff. So just want to put that out there.
Thank you. I love that you said that, because if we can make people, and each one of us, if we can make people feel connected, like if we can feel like we know each other, like you forget you haven't actually even met, then you really are doing something special. And what a strange time in history to live through, where we're actually communicating through social media. And there's so much good that comes with that, and there's so much bad. And I always say at least one of us has to be a light out there on there. I mean, there's going to be bad. So let's go ahead and be the light. All right. So let's talk.
That.
Thank you. So let's talk about commitment, the next characteristic. And I just want to stay on this one quote because I think it's so good. Commitment always precedes achievement. And what that means is you don't say, I'll commit when I become a diamond, or I'll commit when, like you couldn't lose weight and say, I will commit to my weight loss plan when I lose 50 pounds. Can you even imagine? It doesn't even make sense. So commitment comes way before the results ever come. So I know we're all going to struggle with that, but did anyone look at that list of commitment? It's on page 20, but he says there's cop-outs, holdouts, dropouts, and all-outs. So maybe one of you guys would be willing to share an area of your life where you're an all-out and an area of your life where you might be a cop-out. Who wants to get vulnerable? I think Cheryl's.
I will, Jen.
Yay! I felt you about to unmute. I felt it.
I know. Okay, so I'll do all out first. Okay, so we're all out. Something where we're all out, is that what you're asking? Like
Yeah.
I am all out, like committed to really my overall health and exercise. Like I am just all out. Like I live it, I breathe it, I say I'm gonna do it, and I do it. Like boom, like there's just no question. So that's an all out. Now a cop out. Okay, so a cop out is, and I'm just gonna say it. I hate messaging people. Like I'm just gonna say it, okay? But I do it because I have to do it. I'd rather have a conversation with people, but you can't necessarily be a diamond just by having conversations with people. And I recognize that. So Alita and I have worked through this, and really I've gotten better, and I made the commitment. I was so mad last quarter that I didn't win all the prizes, even though I had thousands more points because I didn't recruit people. I said, that is not happening. And I already have my people. And so boom.
Boom. I love that. I love that. And Cheryl, I would say to you, like, I want to follow you because I have never seen you not growing, like no matter what you're doing. I remember when she started doing water aerobics and I saw her, and the first thing she did was she pulled her shirt back and showed me her muscle on her arm. And I was like, dang, sister. And it made me want to do water aerobics. That's charisma. That to me is a person that's showing that they're growing. There's so much there. I don't even know why I went that direction, Cheryl, but anyways, thank you for sharing that. Does somebody else have something similar to share? Somewhere that they're all out and somewhere they're copping out? Yeah, that's hard to do in front of a bunch of people. Okay, so keep that quote. In fact, I would encourage
Jennifer?
you. Yes, ma'am. Hey, Brenda.
I'll do it. Hi. Sorry, I haven't brushed my hair yet today. So I'll tell you somewhere where I've gone all out, and that was with my weight loss. I've lost 100 pounds even now. And 60 of it has been in the last 20 months while living on a sofa. And the cop out has been with my business, which has been really, really rough the last about 5 years. I've just had a ton of surgeries. And listen, here comes my excuses. And Emily Gibson is going to just give me a hard time if she ever listens to this. And it's because of all these are excuses, but this is what I tell myself. I've had all of these surgeries, and it's been rough it's like a lot of this is a law of the lid, but it's just, I'm a red followed really closely by blue personality, and I tend to gather a bunch of yellow personalities, and whenever this leader, me, kind of got taken out. I just had my 13th surgery in 7 years. And I got taken out and kind of sidelined. My team just started kind of falling apart. And I never have been able to kind of get back up. And that's been kind of my cop out, is if I was going to get to the top, I would have by now. And oh, here's another surgery. And you see what I'm trying to say? It's like my brain keeps feeding these things in my head. Like, here's my cop out, as like, you know, you can't sit at a table for, so I just had spine surgery. You can't sit at a table for very long, and I've not been able to figure out a way to really work while sitting or while laying down, and you've got to go rest. You can't write. I just also had hand surgery, these cop outs. And then I'm like, but you figured out how to lose weight while laying on a sofa for 20 months. You can, you know, you can figure it out if you want it bad enough. So if you want it bad enough, you can figure it out.
Yeah, and I love that you shared that, because we get to choose the areas that we're going to stay committed in. And here's the truth, guys. The areas you're struggling to stay committed in, there is something attached to your fear of really going through with that commitment. So it could be, why would I want to commit to something that I'm absolutely terrified I'm going to fail at? Or why would I want to commit to something that makes me feel incompetent? There are reasons why people don't commit to something. I mean, you can look at relationships and friendships and marriages. It's hard. It's the rarity to stay committed to something. And there are always reasons why people can't, and good reasons too. But I looked at Melissa Eichenhorst today, and she posted in her stories about a meeting she's doing tomorrow. And I said to myself, doesn't she have the C word right now? And here she is posting about this meeting that she's doing. And I literally had so much admiration for her. And if you're not feeling well and you're sick, you guys, you don't have to do something. It's not that. It's just the fact that she said she was going to do something, and she's going to do it. There's just no reason for her not. If she's able to do it, she's going to do it. And that makes me respect her, and again, want to continue to follow her. So when you show people your unfaltering, if that's a word, I think I made it up, commitment, that is so endearing to people. I mean, how many of you guys want people to look at you as their leader? Does anybody here want that? Does anybody want someone to look at them as their leader? And I don't even mean necessarily in Plexus, even in my home, I want that. And I want to be used as a leader in all aspects of my life. And it just doesn't show up on your front doorstep. So you have to work on these areas. All right, thank you for sharing that, Brenda. And let's go to Jessica, number 4. We've got 12 minutes to go. Communication.
Yes. All right. Communication. I loved this chapter. I think because it's something that I've worked on over the years, especially through Plexus. And it's something me and my husband focus on most in our marriage. We always say the biggest thing is communication. If we're not sharing our feelings, we're not telling each other how we feel, where are we going? You know, it's a struggle, but something that I think more people need to focus with. So John Maxwell said, educators take something simple and make it complicated. Communicators take something complicated and make it simple. Now, how easy is that for us to do in Plexus? We have a plethora of information, and we can literally word vomit everything to everybody we talk to. And this is one of the biggest things I tell my team is, you're so excited that when somebody messages you, even still now, I can still do it, almost 7 years in, but whenever somebody first starts and they have somebody, they're like, what's Plexus? And they're like, oh my goodness, it's this and this and this and this. So then I have to, I tell my team, come back, breathe. We're going to communicate. We're going to simplify it, but we're going to make it fun. And we're going to communicate like you're talking to a person and not, a robot, something that they're going to understand. And then something else that I saw in here, I want to point out is he says, people will not follow you if they don't know what you want or where you're going. So always make sure that you guys are you telling people the whole point of you being here? Are you communicating what you're doing? Do people know that you're doing Plexus? I think most people, whenever they first start, they're scared to tell people. And I think that's a big thing, is that if you say it out loud, I think that's something, as Jules, that we say is, if you say it out loud, it becomes real. And when you tell other people about it, they start to really believe you. So is there anywhere, does anybody else in here find that when they say something out loud, tell other people, put it on Facebook? I think it's like Facebook official, you know, does it become more real for you that you've communicated that? Okay. I think that was, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I wasn't really thinking about that part of it as so much, but I'm a person, I like to share. I like to share my story. I like to share with other people. And I'm an educator. I was a little offended by that remark because, I mean, you know, as a teacher, and I'm actually homeschool for my kids, I try to simplify stuff to make it simple. And I'm all about educating and helping people. And that's my passion. That's my desire. I want to help. And so, and that's the fun thing about Plexus, is we're able to do that. And I've learned a lot. Just, I've only been with Plexus since March, but I've learned so much, and seeing so much consistency. And I know Lori Felton's one of my sponsors, and Rebecca, and they're just so wonderful. And I learned so much from them. And I don't attend all the Zoom meetings all the time. I have to admit that's probably my weakness, where I need to work on it. But we will get there. It's just scheduling and being busy.
Absolutely. I totally understand that. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for all that you do. Seriously. That is amazing, because I know it cannot be easy. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay, awesome. All right, well, Jenny, you can take the next one.
Okay, so I'm looking at Tabitha. She's talking about communicating. I'm stuck in this place of self-sabotage and not breaking through the crazy cycle of going back to what is easy. I mean, ain't that the truth? Communication, guys, this is why I think scripts are such a slippery slope for us in this business. I get that people need help knowing what to say. I do get that, but it should always just be a skeleton. It should never take the place for what you would really say, because I'm going to tell you now, I could do this right now. I could do this experiment. I could send all of you guys either a scripted message or one that I wrote out. And I could ask you, do you think I wrote that out just for you, or was that a script? And I know you would know which one without even having to say it. And it has actually affected my relationships with people in my life that have messaged me scripted messages because it annoys me. And then I act redheaded, and it's just not a good situation. So back to communication. Okay, so let's talk about competence. I can't believe we actually might make it through all of these. So competence, here is what I'm going to say to you about being competent. You can always find ways to improve yourself in all of your skill sets, everything. And YouTube is your best friend. Like suddenly you're a plumber, you're an electrician. You can find ways to get better in so many different ways in your life. But for some reason, when it comes to leadership, we are waiting. We're not ready. Like, oh, that's kind of scary. And I want to encourage you guys to grow in your competence, because there's two groups of people. They're the group of people that say how. They always want to know the how. And these are the people that are going to punch a time clock. And that's not bad. It's just, these are the people that like to have a boss. But the people that say why, the people that want to understand and do it better, like up level themselves, those are the people that will be their own boss. Okay. So is there anyone share here a way that you are working currently in this day and age right now, trying to grow in your competence in anything? What are you doing right now to try to grow in competence? I know one of you shared you did Bob Heilig's group, and it doesn't have to be Plexus.
Actually, I have started going on Google and in the back office myself instead of asking for help. I've started looking for the way.
Dorothy,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I love that because when you take ownership, it actually changes the way that your energy is. That's so good. Does anybody else have something to share about being competent? Where they're trying to grow? Oh, social media help. Yeah, I follow some people that are really good at doing reels and stories, and I just want to grow in those skills. And honestly, it makes me so much more excited to be on social media because I actually feel like I know how to do fun things. So yeah, reels and Canva. Yeah, so good. And I think competence is probably one of the areas that we can all grow in without quite so much fear, because character, even charisma, those are a little bit more work, I would say. But competence, it's like I'm just learning a skill set, and there are resources everywhere I look. So he even encourages you guys. He said, do a little research to find 3 things that you can do to improve your professional skills. So your professional skills could be taking better pictures of yourself. It could be how to communicate in social media messaging in a way that sounds authentic. It could be how to write posts that engage people. It could be so many different things that can help you with your business. I would encourage you guys to do that too. Does anyone want to share before I pass it back over to her? We have 4 minutes to go. Okay, Jessica, courage.
Okay, courage. I mean, seriously, we need courage in today's world more than anything. And the one thing I love that he said, courage is fear that has said its prayers. And I absolutely love that. I mean, it takes courage, seriously, to do a lot of things in life. I mean, especially Plexus, to courage to do something for ourselves. I mean, as moms, as parents, and to step out and say, you know what, I'm going to do something for myself. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to start making better decisions. It takes a lot of courage. And I really loved what he said. For you to improve your courage is 1, to face the music, go do something scary, do it scared. I mean, isn't that what we do every day? We tell people about gut health. It takes courage. And then he says, talk to that person. I mean, message those people on your chicken list, message them, do it scared, and then take the giant step. And I think the biggest step that we all took was saying, join now, when we became ambassadors. And I mean, this implies to so much in our life every day, whether it be, starting at the gym, starting a new job, or whatever it may be. So is there anything that you guys have found recently that you're doing that takes a ton of courage more than ever?
Patty, you might have to unmute though.
I mean, when I did my first live, I was shaking in my boots. I mean, I had to walk around the house 3 times. I was shaking. But I think really that we are a light in this darkness. And I really feel that Plexus is our platform that can bring us, that we can just shed that light, that encouragement. We could all be cheerleaders for God and bring people encouragement and hope. And I just love that we get to do that. But man, when I did that first live, and sometimes when I do my 100th live, I'm still that way because I just feel that conviction,
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'll tell you, I still don't like doing lives. When I do them, I'm still shaking. I remember my first post I ever made, I deleted it like 3 times, and the whole time I was like this. So I totally get it. And that was just a post. So kudos to you for doing all those lives. And I love that you said like, we're the light in the darkness. I couldn't agree more. Yes, I love that.
When Alita first went, I think she went silver, or maybe she went gold. And I put her announcement on her Facebook page and she deleted it. And I was like, what in the world? And so I messaged her. I said, why did you delete that? She goes, well, I don't really want everyone to see that. Like, I think it caused her a lot of anxiety. Like people outside of Plexus would see that and what would they think? And I just gave her a hard talking to. And the funny thing about that is giving someone a talking to because you believe so much in them does not mean that you necessarily believe in yourself or you have it all figured out or you wouldn't have done the same. But if you are willing to be courageous enough to challenge somebody else to greatness, I think that's one of the most beautiful gifts that you can give them. And so I said, nobody else is paying your bills. I'm putting that post back up and you better not delete it. And so I put it back up there. So if you guys can get into the place of boldness where you push people in a loving way, I think that that courage is going to come back to you tenfold because you created in someone else a belief in themselves. Do you understand where I'm going with that? Is be courageous for someone else to help them do the scary thing. And that actually will help you grow your courage bones as well. Next week, we are going to have Diamond Cheryl Muller and Diamond Tiffany Weaver leading us. And I asked you guys to think of a time when you had discernment. And if you don't know what that is right now, then you'll know once you've read it. But if you do, I want you to be thinking about that you can share. When was a time that I really had this just gut feeling about something and I went with it and I was right. So think about that throughout the week. I'm so excited that we got to do this. Jessica, thank you so much for doing this with me. I love seeing all your faces. I love growing with you and learning from you. So come ready to chat and talk and have a good time next week. And I will see you next Monday night.